Good morning. This is Introduction to Algebra for Tuesday, March the 31st. Today we're going to talk about lesson 102. Go ahead and open your book. We're going to talk about the multiplication of exponential expressions. Boy, that sounds fancy and difficult, doesn't it? It's not, okay? We have to remember what our exponential expressions are, okay? So first, this is that expression. It simply means we have a base, which is the 3, and that 3 has an exponent. In this case, it is a 5. What does 3 to the 5th power actually mean? Well, it means 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 times 3. That is really, in essence, what it means. Now, I want to simplify that. What if I have 3 to the 5th power, but I want to multiply that by 3 to the 2nd power? My bases are the same, so I can simplify. Number 1, bring over the base. Okay, now, because think about what this means. This means 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 times 3. This means 3 times 3. So, bring your base over. Now, add your exponents. 5 plus 3 is 7. All there is to it. Look at this one. You have 5 squared plus 5 cubed times 5 to the 4th power. Since the bases are the same, bring the 5 over and add your exponents. 2 plus 3 is 5 plus 4 is 9. Okay? We have 10 to the 15th power times 10 to the 17th power. Our bases are the same, so we're going to bring our base over. Now add your exponents. 15 plus 17 is 32. That's all there is to simplifying them when their bases are the same. Now I want you to look at this next section. I have 2 to the 3rd times 5 to the 2nd. These bases are not the same. Since those bases are not the same, I cannot simplify that any further than it already is. That is its lowest terms. What about, though, in algebra when we use letters? You know, X, Y, Z, A, B, C, M, N, O, P, Q, R, whatever. How do we do numbers? Well, X squared, or how do we do letters? X squared plus, or times, X cubed. The base is the same. The base is just X. So, just like in our numbers, bring your X over. Bring your base over. Now, add your exponents. 2 plus 3 is 5. Pretty simple. Look at this next one. We have X times X squared times Y to the 17th times X to the 4th times Y to the 6th. That sounds so complicated. It's not. What are our bases? X and Y. So that's what we're dealing with. So, I don't want to write it into this problem. So, I'm going to write it out here to the side. Okay? So, we have X and we have Y. The question is, how many X's do we have? Well, count them up. 1, because there's no exponent, so it's 1. 1 plus 2 is 3, plus a 4 is 7. So there are 7 X's. How many Y's? Well, there's 17, plus there's 6 more, that's 23. So to solve that, we have X to the 7th, Y to the 23rd power. Now, some of them are going to be a little more complicated. It'll be easier to just simply rewrite it and arrange all the A's together, all the B's together, all the Z's together, all the X's together. But you don't have to do that. You can do it mentally as long as you can keep track of it. Let's look at this one. I'm going to show you what I mean. What if I can't quite keep track of these? Okay, so just simply copy the A's. We have A squared. I'm going to put a little line because I've used those two. I'm going to go over here and find this. I have A to the 4th, so I'm going to write A to the 4th, mark it out. Then I have M. It's just a single M. Over here I have M to the 6th. I'm going to mark that out. I have N to the, to the 5th. Now combine them. I have just A's. Well, how many A's do I have? Well, 4 plus 2 is 6, plus 1 more is 7. M's. How many M's do I have? Well, I have 6 plus 1 is 7. N's, I have 5. There's my answer. A to the 7th, M to the 7th, N to the 5th. That's my answer. Let's look at this next column. Okay, let's look at the next column of problems I've given you. Copy this down. Okay, 3 times 3 squared times 3 to the 5th power. What would that be? First of all, can I simplify it? Yes, because my bases are the same. Bring your base over. And the answer is what? 3 to the 8th power. Look at the next one. X times x to the 5th times x squared times y cubed. What are you going to do? Combine all of your x's, then combine all the y's. So how many x's do I have? I have 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I have x to the 9th, y. I have 1 and 3 makes 4. So I have x to the 9th, y to the 4th. Look at your next problem. You have a's and b's. Okay, now notice here you have ab squared, ba cubed, ba to the 4th. You either have to be very, very careful or you need to rewrite it. Okay, so let's do both. Okay, we're not gonna rewrite, we're just gonna be very, very careful. So on a's we have 1 plus 3 is 4 plus 4 is 8. So we have 8a to the 8th power. What about b? Well, we have 2, 3, 4. We have b to the 4th power. So our answer is a to the 8th power, b to the 4th power. Look at our next one. We have y, x squared, y cubed, y to the 4th. So we have x's and we have y's. How many x's? Hopefully you said 2. How many y's? Hopefully you said 9. Okay, because we have 1 plus 3 is 4, plus 1 is 5, plus 4 is 9. So our final answer is x squared, y to the 9th power. So all you're doing is if the bases are the same, the base must be the same. If the base is the same, simply add the exponents. Look at number 1 on page 100, problem set 102, page 286 in your book. In the very long hallway, the ratio of red hats to green hats was 2 to 5. If 4,900 hats were stored in the hallway, how many were red? Okay, what are we going to do for this problem? What's the first thing we're going to do? Well, we have to compare. What are we looking at? We're going to say the ratio is what? Let's think this through. We have 2 red hats. Then our problem tells us that we have 5, let's see what color they are, 5 green hats. And our problem gives us a total, but we don't have a total. So what is our total? Our total is 7 hats. Okay, that one right here, total. Now, these are our longer, more complicated ratios. So what do we know? Look back at your book. Let's look at the story problem again. In a very long hallway, the very long hallway, the ratio of red hats to green hats was 2 to 5. So let's write our first ratio. It is 2 to 5. Now what is that going to equal? Well, we know that there were 4,900 hats in the hallway, okay? So we're not going to use this hat. We're not going to use that ratio. That was our original ratio. But since we're not looking to keep red and green equal, we're looking at making the what? Red equal to a total. So what's my ratio? How many red hats? 2. How many total hats? Remember, we can put our hand over this. We have 2 to 7. Okay? Now, go to your story problem. It says that you have 4,900 total. So the 4,900 goes at the top or the bottom of our ratio? It goes on the bottom because 7 represents the total in this small ratio. 4,900 represents the total in our big ratio. So this is an X. So now we're going to simply cross multiply. 7 times X is 7X. 2 times 4,900 is going to be 9,800. Okay? Now, we have a simple ratio problem. Since you have a simple ratio problem, what are you going to do? You're simply going to divide. Whatever you do on the left, you must do on the right. It says to multiply, so we're going to divide. We want to get rid of the 7, so divide both sides by 7. This equals X. 7 goes into 9 one time with 2 left over, so 7 goes into 28 4 times. 7 goes into 0, and then 7 into 0. So the answer is, if there were 4,900 hats total, then 1,400 of them would be red. Let's look at number 2. First, we have to come up with our algebraic expression, okay? This is honestly the most important part because you've got to get the problem right in order to get the answer right. Let's look at number 2. It says, 5 times the opposite of a number was 56 less than twice the number. What was the number? We've been saying all year that is means equal in math. Well, is and was is present and past tense, right? So what word in this story problem equals the word it is the equal tongue-tied. What word means equals? There, I got it out. It's the word was. Okay? Now, you can't mark in your book, but you can think. Okay? So put your finger where the word was is, and write was or equals on your paper. Now, cover everything after the word was. We only want to look at what's in front of the word was. It says 5 times the opposite of a number. Okay? In order to write the 5 times a number, we're going to write 5n, because that means 5 times some number. The key word here was that I want the opposite. What does the word opposite tell me? It says to make this what? Put a negative in front of it. Okay? Now, look after the word was, because the word was means equal in our story problem. It is 56 less than. Less than means I'm going to subtract it from something. So skip out here, write a subtraction sign, and 56, because it's 56 less than something. What's the something? Go back to your story problem. It is 56 less than twice the number. So twice the number goes in there. Okay? Now let's solve this problem. How are we going to solve it? Well, let's get all the ends on one side. So it says plus, this is a positive 2, so we're going to subtract 2, but whatever we do on the left, we must do on the right. Okay? This is going to cancel, leaving us minus 56. These we're going to have to add together, and we're going to get a negative 7n. Okay? Because we have negative 5n plus negative 2n, and we're going to have a negative 7n. Now what do? We're going to simply do the opposite what our equation says. We have 2 options here. I can multiply by a negative 1 on both sides to make both sides positive, or I can divide with a negative number. I'm okay dividing with a negative number, so I'm simply going to write my division sign, divide by negative 7. Okay, these are going to cancel, just like the signs cancel, leaving me an n. Now I have a negative 56 divided by a negative 7. Well, 56 divided by 7 is 8. Because I'm dividing and both numbers are negative, my answer is positive, okay? So my answer is positive 8, or N equals E. Let's look at number 3 together quickly. It says 400 umbrellas cost $2,000. What would 140 umbrellas cost? Well, what's the ratio that I know? Okay, how much does, if I spend $2,000, how many umbrellas can I buy? 400. So I have $2,000, I can get 400 umbrellas, right? Okay, so my question is, if I want to buy 140 umbrellas, how much would that be? Well, this is going to be, by dividing this, I'm actually finding the cost of 1. Okay? So then I'm going to multiply that by 140. So this all cancels. 20 divided by 4 is 5. And 5 times 140 is going to be $700. Okay? Let's look at what I did again. I took the total amount of the ratio that I know, the $2,000. For $2,000, I can buy 400 umbrellas. If I divide that, I can find the cost of 1. Since my problem says I want to purchase 140, after I divide, I have the cost of 1. So then I would just simply multiply that answer by 140. Okay? So I go back, I cancel out my zeros just to make my numbers easier and say 20 divided by 4 is 5, and 5 times 140 is 700. Okay? Let's look at your next problem. Wilson bought 60 items for $40 each and 40 items for $150 each. What was the average cost of his items? Okay, you have to think way back. We did this second quarter, okay? And here it is, the fourth quarter of the school year, okay? We're looking for an average cost. Well, first, what did he spend? He bought 60 that were $40, okay? That's the first thing he bought. Then it says that he bought 40 items that were, so plus he bought 40 items that were $150, okay? So let's put our little dollar signs up there. How many items did he buy? He bought 100 items, right? He bought 60 of the $40 items and 40 of the 150. So he bought 100 items, okay? Now, let's solve this. If we say 60 times 40, we're gonna get 6 times 4 is 24. So we're gonna have 240, plus we're gonna have 150 times 40. We're gonna add those together. We're gonna get 8,400. That's how much money he spent. And remember, he bought 100 items. How did I get the 100 items? From our story problem. It told us that he bought 60 of the 40 and 40 of the 50. That's where this 100 came from. Now I multiplied this, added them together, and get 8,400. But I have to divide by the 100. So I'm going to mark those off, and look what happens. 84 over 1. So what was the average cost of each item that he bought? $84. I'm going to do the next one with you because it's impossible to do them on the computer. All right, so let's look at it together very quickly. Sorry, my book just came apart. All right, we have X is not less than or equal to -2. In these kind of equations, the first thing I have to do is make the statement what? Make the statement positive. So I'm going to say, what is X? X is greater than -2. Does everybody see what I did? I took this negative statement and turned it into a positive statement. and got rid of the not. You know, that's the way we are supposed to be in our Christian life. We're not supposed to focus on the negative. We're supposed to focus on the things of the Lord. And the things of the Lord are always a positive thing, because God wants us to live with a joyful heart. He wants us to live with the joy of the Lord. The Bible says the joy of the Lord is my strength. You remember that song from Junior Church? The joy of the Lord is my strength. The joy of the Lord is my strength. Well, you know what, guys? He is. When things are hard, God is our joy. You know, things are difficult. Some of you right now are thinking, I can't handle living with my siblings anymore. Small apartment, lots of siblings. I need some alone time, some space to get away from them. Okay? But you know what? Find your strength in God. Find your strength in God. And you can get through this. So every negative has a positive if you look for it. Okay? So we're going to change our negative statement to a positive. Now we can graph it. Okay? So I'm going to graph this. I'm going to say this is -1, -2, -3, -4, 0, 1, 2, 3, and I ran out of room for 4. Okay, so the X is greater than. Since it's greater than, I'm only going to circle it. I only color it in if it says it's equal to. It's greater than -2. The greater numbers are to the right. So there's our graphing for it. Today, online, there is a homework lesson. It is working on problem set 102. You will not do all of 102. You will only do a portion of it. But please do it to the best of your ability. It will give you the answers not give you the answers. It will tell you if your answer is correct or not as you do it. Again, that is to help you prepare for your test. All right? I hope you have a great day. Find your strength and your joy in the Lord, guys.